Good morning, viewers and listeners of Concerned Citizens Media. Welcome back again. I'm here to share some news and the Concerned Citizens Media comment for today. So, today is May 28, 2021. So let's start reading some news. I have also one video. Challenge to Abiy Ahmed's transition government in Tigray region continue. Tigray People Liberation Front TPLF fighters assassinated Mr. Haile Mariam Kaliyu, Southern Nike Sege Woreda or district's administrator, and escaped from the scene. According to various media reports, the governor was holding a meeting with his constituents when the TPLF operatives arrived on Bajaj, three-wheel taxis, and opened fire and killed him. The Ethiopian government blamed TPLF for the assassination of at least 22 government officials appointed to govern in the Tigray Transitional Administration in the last 6 months. 20 officials were also kidnapped and 4 others were wounded and hospitalized by TPLF fighters and their sympathizers in the Tigray region in the last 6 months. At the meantime, the capital city of Tigray region, Mekelle, showed its displeasure and strong opposition by shutting down all its doors to all activities for a day. The residents successfully coordinated this total boycott in Mekelle by using the days declared for fasting and prayer in the city. So the city of Mekelle looks like ghost town. I don't know how they coordinated in this very challenging time. The central government attempting to control every aspect of Tigray, but these people are showing their toughness and resistance against Abiy Ahmed Prosperity Party. So that boycott, I saw the photo from other media. It's nothing moving in that city, especially yesterday. So they are fasting for and praying for 3 days, maybe for the challenge they are facing. But the coordination is amazing. I don't know how they did it. Nobody was moving. All stores, transportation, restaurant, everything was shut down. And the government also, angry and shut down the stores. I don't know why, but maybe try to force them to open, but the government also using its authority to put notice on their door. But the coordination is amazing, and it could be exemplary for other residents living in other regions, especially Oromia. They did before, but they are now they are not doing. So they should start doing something like that to resist the atrocities they are suffering under Abiy Ahmed leadership. Safaricom is withdrawing its interest in owning the Ethiopian telecom company. Safaricom was one of the two companies won a bid to publicly own Ethiopian telecommunication company. The company didn't mention the reason for its withdrawal. It could be the immediate impact of United States sanctions on Ethiopia. The United States clearly stated that its Ethiopia sanctions include using international monetary institutions like IMF and the World Bank from loaning money to companies desire to invest in Ethiopia. Credit for this Kadiro Elemo. So Safaricom was announced, it was announced, and the other company to run Ethiotelecom. They won the bid, but now, according to Yoya Media or Kedro Elemo, this company is withdrawing. It could be due to the loan the IMF or the World Bank maybe refused to give the Safaricom to have a deal with Ethiopia. So this is another immediate impact of United States sanctions on Ethiopia. So we don't know yet about the other company where the money is coming. The next one, Jimma University Professors and its administrators that have been accused by Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed as supporters of Oromo Liberation Front are being held at Awash Arba military training camp. According to the news obtained from the area, Colonel Gammachu Ayana, who was freed by judges of his crime, is also illegally kept in this same military camp. Several other Oromos who denied legal court proceedings also housed illegally at this camp just by the order of Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. Thousands and thousands of Oromos are denied their legal protections and have been subjected to lengthy imprisonment and other human rights violations in Ethiopia. The whereabouts and the condition of so many other Oromo politicians are unknown. Accountability and the rule of law extremely lacking in Oromia, Ethiopia under Abiy Ahmed administration. So the situation is tough. So he almost, I don't know, is about more than 10 Jimma University professors, doctors, accused of supporting oil by Abiy Ahmed, and no due process. So he ordered his undercover operatives to take them to Awash Arba. Also, Colonel Gammachu Ayana, he is a free man, but so he's not a free man until Abiy Ahmed let him go. So that is the system we are opposing in Ethiopia, challenging in Ethiopia, and all others must challenge. This is a very bad system. This is a very bad man. What he's doing is illegal against the country's constitution. It should be challenged. Those security guards, those federal police, they should say no to such kidnapping and arresting people illegally in military camp. This will lead to dictatorship. So they should refuse. The U.S. Senate Foreign Relations Committee held a hearing today on the Tigray conflict in Ethiopia and the U.S. response to it. The hearing was chaired by Senator Bob Menendez and serious concerns were raised on Ethiopia authorities to reverse the course or face other tough sanctions, including asset freeze in the future. For details of the hearing, you can go cspan.org. But I have a short clip about that hearing, the introductory part. I will let you listen to that one. But if you want to go the whole report, if you want to hear the witnesses, I think at least 2 witnesses about the situation in Tigray and the situation in Ethiopia, they will testify. So it's interesting to go to the cspan.org and listen the whole report. So, and the pressure is continuing on Abiy Ahmed and his Prosperity Party, in Ethiopia, to reverse the course, to change their directions. And President Joe Biden also released a statement yesterday expressing his concern about the conflict in Tigray region. I will read that statement for you, then we will go to the video. This is from White House website. Statement by President Joe Biden on the crisis in Ethiopia. I am deeply concerned by the escalating violence and the hardening of regional and ethnic divisions in multiple parts of Ethiopia. The large-scale human rights abuses taking place in Tigray, including widespread sexual violence, are unacceptable and must end. Families of every background and ethnic heritage deserve to live in peace and security in their country. Political wounds cannot be healed through force of arms. Belligerents in the Tigray region should declare and adhere to ceasefire, and Eritrea and Amhara forces should withdraw. Earlier this week, the United Nations Office of Humanitarian Affairs warned that Ethiopia could experience its first famine since the 1980s because of this protracted conflict. All parties, in particular the Ethiopian and Eritrean forces, must allow immediate, unimpeded humanitarian access to the region in order to prevent widespread famine. The statement continues. The United States urges Ethiopia leaders and institutions to promote reconciliation, human rights, and respect for pluralism. Doing so will preserve the unity and the territorial integrity of the state and ensure the protection of the Ethiopian people and the delivery of urgently needed assistance. The government of Ethiopia and other stakeholders across the political spectrum should commit to an inclusive dialogue. Working together, the people of Ethiopia can build a shared vision for the country's political future and lay the foundation for sustainable and equitable economic growth and prosperity. The United States is committed to helping Ethiopia address these challenges, building on the long-standing ties between our two nations and working with the African Union, United Nations, and other international partners. U.S. Special Envoy for the Horn of Africa, Jeff Feldman, is leading a renewed U.S. diplomatic effort to help peaceful resolve the interlinked conflict across the region, including the resolution of the dispute over the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam that meets the needs of all parties. Special Envoy Feldman will return to the region next week and keep me apprised of his progress. America's diplomacy will reflect our values, defending freedom, upholding universal rights, respecting the rules of law, and treating every person with dignity. So that is a White House statement from President Joe Biden on the situation in Ethiopia. So is not bad like the Ethiopian government and their supporters are portraying the response or the reaction of the United States. All the supporters of Abiy Ahmed, those medias, those Prosperity Party members, including the Prime Minister, all are trashing the United States for expressing their concern. What they want is to reverse the course. It's not about blaming each other. The Ethiopia is, denying all these atrocities, war crimes, and other grave human rights violations in that country. It is happening. The United States and other Western world, they have the evidence. So the Ethiopian government and the media supporting Abiy Ahmed, Prosperity Party supporters, members, all are going around unnecessarily attempting to galvanize people to fight the United States or the Western world, and threatening the United States with the withdrawal of Ethiopian forces from Somalia, refusing to fight Al-Shabaab, or claiming TPLF is a terrorist. All these are unnecessary. If TPLF is a terrorist, all these office holders are a terrorist because they are created by TPLF. They are all the OPDOs, all the Amara representatives, the same like OPDOs and those from the south, all of them created by TPLF, including the parliament, members, all of them. These are not newly elected officials. They are remnants of TPLF. So I know they are trying to get political benefits by rushing to declare TPLF Oneg as a terrorist organization, because once you declare a terrorist organization, it will be forbidden to negotiate with them. You see, that was the calculation. But the United States say you need to negotiate, you need to have a dialogue with all stakeholders in that country to reverse the course, to keep the unity of that country, to respect human rights, dignity of all Ethiopians. So the Prosperity Party didn't accept. They are still jumping around. They are still claiming the United States is interfering, meddling with the internal affairs. No, this is false. Everything reported by global media, captured by satellite, it's a reality on the ground. Abuse happened. Grave human rights violations happen. War crime happened. So instead of denying and jumping around and blaming the United States, the Ethiopians must come together and correct the direction of that country. Ethiopia is a mess. Ethiopia is full of command posts. Ethiopia is full of crime and lack of accountability everywhere. No rules of law. People are arrested, mass arrest, just for expressing themselves, and no court handling the situation. So people are just no court proceeding, no accountability. People are killed in a public view. So all these are unnecessary, and they should be corrected, and dialogue, reconciliation must be held in that country. It's not, this fake election will not take us out from the wood. So it is suggested by the United States, by others, by United Nations, by Europeans. Dialogue is needed, reconciliation is needed, and also the withdrawal of the Amara special forces and the Eritrean criminal forces are demanded. They should be out, and they should be out immediately. That's what the United States is demanding, and we'll hear the hearing. So that is the situations. Protesting, attempting to cover up the crimes through massive protest, trashing the United States and the Western world will not take us anywhere. Abiy Ahmed, you need to change the course. Ethiopians, if he is not responding to this and other international and Ethiopian demands, please ignore him and demand his resignation. Ignore his order, especially those federal forces and the military. They should ignore him. You cannot accept a madman order, the man who is destroying your country. He is destroying your country. The country is heading in a bad direction. Sudan is going deep and attacking Ethiopians, taking the land, destroying their properties. So I don't know why you are obeying this man's order, and the country is isolated globally. So you cannot see all these things. I don't know what you're waiting for. I know Haile Mariam Desalegn, his time was not like this, much better than the current situation, but he resigned for the sake of the country. This guy, he doesn't have that kind of appetite, so he should be forced by Ethiopians to leave the office. His leadership is a failure. He make Ethiopia miserable, and the Amaras may be happy because they are getting temporary benefit, as I said before about Walqait Tagadi. But the big country, we are losing the big country. Sudan is attacking, deep into Ethiopian territory, and Egypt is traveling to Djibouti and Kenya and attempting to do something. These are not good sign for that country, and he should be resigned. I think concerned citizens media repeatedly ask him to resign, but maybe he's waiting for other Ethiopians to ask him to resign, to demand, and open the country for reconciliation and dialogue among all Ethiopians, including TPLF. They are part of Ethiopians. If you care about Ethiopia, if you care about the future of the country, you should include all. And you need to stop using the word terrorism. How are we going to sit with the terrorism? If TPLF, as I said, if TPLF terrorism, you are also terrorism. You have blood in your hand for the last 30 years. The last 30 years under TPLF, plus the last 3 years. So you are nothing. You are not new. You have blood in your hand. because you should be in jail, you should be in a legal system, but everything is in your hand for now, so nobody put you in accountability chair yet, but you know that you are part of the crime, you are part of the terrorist organization if you call TPLF terrorist, and the parliament is the same, all of them created by TPLF. So stop using this nonsense and come to your mind. Call all Ethiopians to action for dialogue, reconciliation, and to build a better country. That is the demand of Ethiopians. That is the demand of the Western world and the Europeans and UN. So stop going around and jumping around, claiming, interfering internal affairs, and threatening the United States with the withdrawal of your forces from Somalia, and threatening actions against the United States. You can take actions, but it will not take you anywhere. You cannot go anywhere. You are squeezed. You need to change your course for the sake of the people, for the sake of the country. So that's enough from concerned citizens' comment. And let's listen to today's hearing. And I think they express the same concern, the same serious concern. So let's listen to this hearing and conclude today's presentation. Let's see if I can open it. Let's see. Senate Foreign Relation. Okay, here we go. Hearing on Tigray conflicts. Okay.
C-SPAN, more relevant than ever.
We'll do is I'll have myself and the ranking member do our opening statements. We'll recess for its one vote at this point for the vote, and then we'll come back and begin our witness statements. So let me start by thanking today's witnesses.
Sorry. Oh.
Tremendous strategic significance. New Jersey is also home to a proud Ethiopian diaspora community that remains actively engaged with current events. Until recently, many of us were hopefully watching a country that appeared to be in the midst of a historic transition to democracy after years of authoritarian rule. Now, a brutal war in Tigray, internationalized by Eritrea's participation, violence, and insecurity in other parts of the country, and rapidly closing political space have given rise to the possibility that Ethiopia is instead on a trajectory towards state collapse. Let me be blunt. I see echoes of Darfur. There are reports of extrajudicial killings, sexual violence, forced displacement of Tigrayans. Armed actors have looted and destroyed health and education installations, attacked refugee camps. CNN recently reported that armed actors are blocking food aid. Aid workers have been murdered. As a result, Tigray now appears to be on the brink of famine. All sides are guilty of abuses, but the fragmentary reporting we have indicates that Ethiopian, Eritrean, and allied militia have disproportionately been responsible for targeting civilians in a manner that is both reckless and sinister. We appear to be witnessing war crimes and crimes against humanity.
War crimes, crimes
While the
against
conflict in
humanity.
Tigray is the most alarming and graphic illustration of insecurity and ethnic violence in Ethiopia, it is far from the only place in the country where civilians, including members of Ethiopia's two largest ethnic groups, Amhara and Oromo, and other communities are being targeted and killed in significant numbers. A major force behind much of the unrest gripping the country is rapidly closing political space as a result of a failed democratic transition. The Prime Minister initiated laudable reforms early in his tenure. However, momentum has shifted. His government has jailed opposition leaders and their supporters, denied them due process. On his watch, journalists have been intimidated and even killed, and dissent and free speech have been suppressed. Unfortunately, the Ethiopian government has refused to pursue the kind of political dialogue that could lead to a political consensus about how a new Ethiopia should be governed. In this environment, there is little hope that Ethiopia's June 21st elections can credibly reflect the will of the people. I applaud the administration's focus on this crisis. The appointment of Ambassador Feldman as Special Envoy to the Horn of Africa sent an important signal. Although we do need to have a broader conversation about special envoys in general, I appreciate this effort thus far. But Prime Minister Abiy has met our diplomatic initiatives with stonewalling, broken promises, and unfilled commitments. The government has failed to provide unfettered humanitarian access, secure the withdrawal of Eritrean troops, or commit to a political solution to the conflict. And throughout, it has engaged in misrepresentation and disinformation, including on the origins of the crisis in Tigray, the human rights and humanitarian situation on the ground, and the active involvement of foreign troops in the conflict. It has become abundantly clear that events on the ground call for a robust response from the U.S., the region, and the international community, one that conveys an unequivocal message. We will not tolerate war crimes, crimes against humanity, and ethnic violence. We must pursue accountability no matter how high up the chain of command responsibility lies. I support the administration's announcement of visa sanctions and a pause in some assistance. We should also impose targeted financial sanctions on individuals perpetrating conflict, use our voice and vote at international financial institutions to oppose all funding that does not directly support the basic needs of the Ethiopian people, and ensure that Ethiopian troops currently operating in Tigray who may be implicated in war crimes are not deployed as UN peacekeepers. In addition, the administration should begin marshaling international support for arms embargoes so that the weapons of war fueling this disastrous crisis can be taken off the table. We have strategic interests in partnership with Ethiopia, and its leaders will not be pleased by these actions. But the pursuit of our strategic interests at the expense of the Ethiopian people flies in the face of core American values and is ultimately unsustainable. With that, let me turn to the distinguished ranking member, Senator Risch, for his statement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ethiopia is a vital and strategic security, economic, and regional partner whose relationship did improve significantly with the United States under Prime Minister Abiy's government. The historical political transition in 2018 that ushered Abiy into power was initially met with great optimism, not just from the United States, but also the world. The promise for Ethiopia's democratic transition is still possible, but recent events in both Ethiopia and the wider region, as well as global challenges like the COVID-19 pandemic and the resulting economic shocks, have complicated Ethiopia's journey. In particular, the ongoing war in Tigray, which began last November, has not just eroded U.S. optimism in Ethiopia's democratic future, but has instilled deep concerns that Ethiopia's economic and political transition is not for every Ethiopian. This war and its aftershocks have exposed deep divisions in Ethiopian society, and worse, has reignited possibilities of our greatest fears for this vital country anchoring the Horn of Africa region. I'm horrified by what we are witnessing in Tigray, a war that was initially termed by the Ethiopian government as a law enforcement operation. This operation has displaced millions and left millions more in need of urgent humanitarian assistance. The war has inflamed intercommunal violence, seen mass killings, widespread use of rape as a weapon, targeted destruction of livelihoods, and other horrifying cases of human rights abuses. It has also caused a large displacement of persons, which has led to a massive refugee flow, primarily into Sudan. This conflict has also impacted peacekeeping missions in Sudan and Somalia, inflamed tensions on Ethiopia's borders, and forced regional states to pick sides, not just regarding the Tigray War, but also the crisis over the filling of Ethiopia's Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, also known as GERD. The war in Tigray is a threat to not only the future of the Ethiopian state and the wider region, but also to the strategic, economic, and security interests of the United States. Increased instability on the Horn of Africa, particularly in Ethiopia, further aggravates what is already a volatile region, racked with crisis and countries undergoing fragile transitions. Such instability also undermines vital U.S. counterterrorism efforts. Countries like China, Russia, Turkey, and others in the Gulf are actively scrambling over access to resources and securing influence and power centers on the Horn of Africa and elsewhere on the continent, of course. At the end of the 116th Congress, introduced a resolution with Senator Cardin calling for a peaceful resolution to the Tigray conflict. We reintroduced an updated version of the resolution this Congress, which passed this committee in late March and moved unanimously out of the full Senate just last week. While Ethiopia's transition faces significant challenges, passing this resolution sent an important bipartisan signal to Ethiopia, our allies, and our own government that the withdrawal of Eritrean forces, the cessation of hostilities in Tigray, and getting Ethiopia back on track with its democratic transition are priorities for the United States Senate and the United States government. Every day we learn of new details reflecting the true horror of violence occurring throughout Ethiopia. The Ethiopian government has either dismissed such reports as false or provided assurances to our diplomats and officials that the situation is not as bad as it seems. Sometimes the government will even commit to conducting investigations and holding accountable anyone found to have committed a crime. That is a commitment only. But we have seen this script before in places like Rwanda, Darfur, and Zimbabwe. Leaving matters of accountability up to one of the participants in this conflict will not stop the atrocities and suffering. The United States and its allies must continue to transition and do so quickly from a position of hands-off diplomacy, like encouragement, engagement, and talking to the Ethiopian and Eritrean governments to hands-on action. Even though it took longer than I would have liked, I'm pleased by this administration's recent actions to impose visa sanctions on those carrying out those atrocities and thwarting vital humanitarian assistance. I'm also glad to see limits placed on foreign aid and using our voice and vote at multilateral financial institutions to send a clear message to the Ethiopian government that what is happening in their country is unacceptable. I encourage the administration to continue exploring every option to end the war in Tigray, to continue building a coalition of like-minded allies, to pursue justice and accountability, including global Magnitsky sanctions, and to work with the Ethiopian people to help get their democratic transition back on track, starting with salvaging their upcoming general elections on June 25th. I look forward to a robust discussion on these issues. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Risch. So there is one vote. The committee will recess subject to the call of the chair, and when we return, we'll introduce our two distinguished witnesses and look forward to their testimony. With that, this hearing.
Okay, that is the opening of the hearing at the Foreign Relations Committee, chaired by Senator Bob Mendez, the chairman of this committee. But the hearing is not over. As I told you, if you wanna listen to the whole thing, it's about an hour something. You can go to C-SPAN, C, capital C, then underscore span.org for the whole hearing details. So Abiy, offer him through their diplomatic dialogue, sending Senator Chris Coons, sending special envoy to Addis Ababa, Jeffrey Feltman, and other members of the delegation. All they, as you heard, stonewalled, ignored them, no reaction. That's why the United States is pissed off and angry about the response, about the development, and start putting all these blanket sanctions on Ethiopia. Because Abiy ignored them. They asked for the withdrawal of Eritrean forces. What they did, they changed the uniform, they keep them in Tigray region, even brought them to fight in Oromia. And under the law and order operation, the Amaras took the land from the Tigray. The United States said they have to leave. It's a law and order operation. It's not about grabbing the land or taking territory. That's not the purpose, as the Prime Minister and the all Prosperity Party officials say to the media. The law and order operation, even though it is a complete war against the Tigray people, complete war. It's a different war. It's a revenge. The Ethiopian government allowed the revenge to be happen, to be happen by Eritreans, by Ethiopian soldiers, by Amara Special Force, on the Tigrayan girls, on the Tigrayan women. And the discipline, there is no discipline. There is a discipline of war. Once you capture your enemy, you treat the enemy with dignity. Is the one we saw on the video is completely different kind. Between the same nation, they claim we all claim Ethiopians, and the treatment was bad. Even you fight with the outsider, not with your own citizen, you don't treat them like that. You don't treat them like that. You don't talk like that. We saw the different videos on social media, how the Amaras act against the Tigrayan people, the Tigrayan soldiers and others, and how they talk about raping the woman in front of their family. These are dirty, very dirty, undisciplined. I don't know where they got this, the military, where they got this, where they got the training. Where are the rules of conduct? These are not rules of conduct internally and international. These are not rules of conduct. So now Abiy is given an ultimatum to change the course, release political prisoners, have a dialogue with all stakeholders, stop claiming this fake terrorism by using your parliament, rushing to the parliament. It is surprising only one lady opposed to that hearing in the parliament. All the rest scared of him and approved for him. No question at all. It's shame. It should be challenged. There should be question and answer, and all the discussion should have been happened before the vote. But who can handle that? Who is, dare to challenge this dictator? It's already a dictator, trained by Eritrean dictator, Isaias Afwerki. So now the whole world is watching you. Don't encourage demonstration. Don't encourage fighting against the United States or the West. Do your thing. Do your assignment is given to you. Come back to the table the way you come in 2018. the promises you made to Oromos, to Amaras, to all Ethiopians, to make the country a democratic country, a peaceful country. You have to come back to that terms. Don't turn your back against the Oromos and others. Come back to your terms. Remember your promise and have a dialogue. Release these people. Don't abuse the power. Don't you increase insecurity, instability in that country. Everywhere is trouble. You are fighting Sudan, you are fighting in Benishangul, you are fighting in Amhara, you are fighting in Oromia region, command post everywhere. This is not the right way to govern. And you increased, assassination squads everywhere who are willing to sacrifice for you to kill whoever you want to kill. These are wrong ways. You need to stop. You need to come to the table with all stakeholders. Forget about this fake election. This is not election. So stop stonewalling the United States and others. Stop ignoring all this warning. You have a choice to change the course and to be respected as a Nobel Peace Prize winner if you change the course. I don't know why you are doing all this. And those you are pushing him to do all these dirty works, stop, please. Stop. Especially the Amaras, stop. This will not help you to build the country you are looking for. This will lead disintegration, separation, and people hating to become an Ethiopian. So you have to create a situation, a feeling that everybody feel like Ethiopian, happy to become Ethiopian. You have to create that conditions. It's not by force. Through dialogue, reconciliation, coming together, discussion, and other comfortable ways. So you need to release the jailed Oromo politicians. They have no crime. You know it. You just want to control the political field. You want to open for prosperity to win and govern for the next 5 years. I don't know what kind of country you want to govern. The country is going to the toilet under your leadership, maybe tearing into pieces very soon. So you need to stop that. You need to see if you have a brain. And the Ethiopians, the soldiers, the federal police, those undercover operatives, please ignore this man's order for the sake of the country, for the sake of Ethiopians. Please don't obey. Don't follow this crazy dictator man. He's a crazy man. He will force you to do every dirty work for him to stay in power. So Ethiopians, this is a very serious time to question the leadership of Abiy Ahmed and his Prosperity Party and get to the correct direction. If not, the country will be facing more sanctions, including asset freeze, probably more from European Union and from other global financial institutions, including remittance the Ethiopians receive from the diaspora community. So more challenge will be placed if the correct measures are not taken. So this is the time to take the correct measures and open for dialogue and release all opposition politicians, please. They are citizens of that country. Let them have a say, and let all the stakeholders to have a say for the sake of the country, for the sake of Ethiopians that you want to preserve, not to crack it into pieces. You care about Ethiopia as you are talking day and night. If you care about Ethiopia, you cannot preserve it by destroying Ethiopians, by holding only one side, only getting the Amara support. Ethiopia is more than 80 different ethnic groups. So you're just holding one and ignoring others will not take you anywhere. You are already isolated globally. War is coming deep into Ethiopian territories through Sudan, maybe next Egypt, who knows, and Benishangul still fighting. The war in Oromia is still going on, in Amara region too. So I don't know. These are all complex situations, must be resolved with a smart mind. And if this guy pushes in the same direction, Ethiopians must demand his immediate resignation, and to, you know, if they want to fix their country. So the hearing is very interesting. They expressed their concern. They advised the Prime Minister and his supporters to change the directions and, to avoid further sanctions. So they have to listen instead of organizing all these protests around the globe, at home and around the globe, to shame the United States and the Western world, to denounce the United States. That will not take us anywhere. And do what you are supposed to do, end the war in Tigray and have a dialogue in that country. Thank you guys for taking the time to listen to Concerned Citizens Media. I appreciate you, and subscribe to the Concerned Citizens Media, share it, like it, and so we can make it the voice for the voiceless, so we can make it the voice for democracy, freedom, justice, especially in Ethiopia. Thank you again. I will be back with other news and comments. So long, everyone.